Hey, this is Mike, and this is Create with Code. This is a free course that Unity Learn has. So you can go to this site, check it out, and I would recommend doing this course. I've gone through this course. It's really good for beginners if you want to learn how to use Unity. It steps you through various projects that teach you learn different ways of creating games in Unity. But for my channel here, I'm going to do a small series on how you would implement these projects in using Game Creator 2. So instead of code, right? So with Game Creator 2, we don't need code per se. And we can implement these things without code. So I'm going to step through each project, and we're going to do, this is going to be a series, and we are going to start with this Unit 1 player control. So let's get started. So first of all, what we want to do is create a project in Unity. And we also need the project files. So what we want to do here is select the Unity version of 6. They've updated Create with Code to version 6 recently, so which is great. So now the project files that they have in each project, they are available for version 6. So to get the starter files for lesson 1, we want to go into lesson 1.1, start your 3D engines, make sure the version 6 is selected, and click the prototype 1 starter files, and that will download a zip file. And inside this zip file is a Unity package. So keep this handy. You're going to need that in a few minutes. So we're going to create a new project for the prototype 1 project. So you can use Universal 3D, the URP, and then title it something like GC2 prototype 1, that's what I'll call it, and then create the project. So once that's finished loading, we can click this remove readme assets because we won't need that. And then we want to install Game Creator 2. So install Game Creator 2, just the core module is all we'll need. And then download and then import that. Click the install upgrade and click the import here to import that. And then once that's finished installing, we want to go to the Game Creator install and get the examples. So install the examples, and then we're ready for that. And then the next step is to bring in the assets that you just downloaded from there. So you go assets, import package, custom package, and import this prototype 1 starter files, U6 Unity package. And that imports into this course library. And we've got the source file, so there's ground, road, obstacles. These are already URP compatible, so there's no need to run the render pipeline converter. We can just access these directly. So they've automatically they've upgraded these to URP, I guess. If you use, as long as you have the Unity 6 version of it. And there's some vehicles in here. So we've got these. These are Cinti assets. I think some of them from Simple packs or from the prototype pack or something like that. So the license for these is non-commercial. You cannot use them in commercial projects because they're provided by Cinti Studios, not for commercial use. If you would like to use any of the assets from this package in commercial projects, please purchase one of their asset packs from the Cinti Studios Asset Store page. They don't really tell you which packs these exact assets are in, but you'd have to like look for them. But I think these are like Simple Town or something like that. I'm not sure exactly where they're from. And the sky, so there's a sky dome and a mountain skybox. These are the assets just for that first project. So, and then so we have the ground. That's going to be just a piece of road, basically. So if we go into the next step, that's import assets and open. So we're going to follow these steps, but we're going to adapt it to Game Creator 2 where needed. So, and you can go in and watch these videos. This too, it tells you what to do. So yes, we've imported the starter files, and we want to go into the prototype 1 scene and delete the sample scene once we've done that. So they have scenes. This prototype 1 comes in that package. And then we're just supposed to delete the sample scene. So we have prototype 1. So all this is a skybox and a piece of road, right? That's it. So it's a fairly simple scene. So then we go to the next step, add your vehicle to the scene. So we just want to drag a vehicle into the hierarchy window. So you can pick whichever one you want. The one they use is this one, the red. So just drag that in to the hierarchy, and it should go right there in position 000. If it doesn't, then reset, or you can reset the position property, or you can just say reset. So there we have it. You can focus on it, and that's it. You got the car. It just tells you how to zoom and pan and stuff like that. You can look into that on your own. And then we want to add an obstacle and reposition. So let's take a look at the obstacles. We got barrels, crates, a barrier. But in this particular, in the actual tutorial, they use the crate, I think. So we drag in, they say drag it into this here, and then we can reset the property and put it to Z of 25. So now it's all the way down the road a little bit. So now the next step, you want to run the game and look through the camera. So there is a camera, main camera there already, and it's going to be a side view. So if we run the game, that's all we're going to see. It's just going to be the side view. So now it's where they're going to position the camera and customize the layout. but we're not going to do it. You want to move the camera behind the vehicle. So we're going to do that. Take a look. So let's just move it over here. And rotate that. And we can see how that looks in there. Just, let's see here. And mine's a little off. I don't know. You can do this to see how it's, yeah. So there you go. That's good. And so that's the end of that lesson, basically. And then we want to, so next we'll do the pedal to the metal. So it says create and apply your first script. So instead of doing that, we're not going to create this script. What we're going to do is we're going to create a trigger on the, so the vehicle, we'll unpack the prefab. So let's unpack completely the prefab. And then inside here, we will create an empty child. And we can do this triggers. The script that they're calling is named player controller. So we can call this player controller as well. And then we want the update method. So we want to add a trigger and change that to on update. And they say to add a comment as well. So you can add comments to your code as well in here, and just the debug comment. And it says to say move the vehicle forward. So I'll just that. Okay. Next step, we want to give the vehicle a forward motion. So what they're doing is using the transform translate code, but in Game Creator 2, and using 001 and complete the line. Okay, well, we're not typing in code here, so instead we want to use the instruction, because there's no translate, but there's change position, so we'll use change position. So the transform is going to be the vehicle apparent, and the global position, and we're going to set, we want to add though instead of that, and put 0, and they say 1 in the Z. So every frame it's going to go 001 in the Z, and that's how they're doing it as well. It'll be going really fast, but that's what they want to do. This is the equivalent to transform.translate. So this is the equivalent of what they're doing, is adding 1 to the Z every frame. So next step, use a vector 3 to move forward. So they're using, so they just basically change that to vector 3.forward, but we can run this and see what it does. And it's going fast, very fast. You can see how fast it's going. And then, so they're saying instead of 001, you can use vector 3.forward. So in Game Creator, so we can get vector 3.forward by using, in the value here, we can set it to direction, value. in the values category, we can say direction, and then the direction you want it to go is in the constants forward. So it's a vector with the constant 0, 0, 1. So that's how we would do that in Game Creator 2, and it should do the same thing. And yes, it does. Okay, so next, customize the vehicle's speed. Yeah, right now it's out of control, so what we want is to add times time.delta time and times 20. So how do we do that in Game Creator 2? How do we multiply by time.delta time times 20? So what we want to do, if we want to multiply, because we can multiply things, but we need to set it into a variable. So let's add some variable, some local name variables here. So what we want to set here is the direction, I guess, or speed. Okay, so we're going to make this a number. And then the value 1 is going to be time.delta time. And value 2 is going to be a decimal, the 20. So here's the 20. So time.delta time times 20. That's this part here. And then we have to multiply it by vector 3.forward. So first of all, we'll set the delta time times 20 and put it into the speed variable. And then, so the easiest way to do this is to just use this speed as the, so let's move this down. Okay, so because the forward direction is 0, 0, 1, we know that, then what we want to do is set the, we can do this speed, yeah, so we can, instead of the direction here, we can set this to vector components and put 0, 0, and then the variable, the local name variable of speed. And that's the same thing as multiplying the vector by this, so it should be the same. So this should work. So we'll see it's going slower, and now we can control that speed by making it changing that value. Okay. So next they want to add a rigid body to the object. So let's add the rigid body to the vehicle, because it'll just go right through that obstacle otherwise. So we're adding a rigid body, and we want to add one to the crate as well. So let's unpack this prefab, unpack completely, and add a rigid body to it. We'll give it 100 mass, and we'll give the vehicle 1,000. And they say to just increase, yeah, and test again. So now when it hits this, it's knocking the box down the road or on the road. So that's good, it works. Duplicate and position the obstacles. So they just want you to duplicate and make some more obstacles. Oop. And you can vary the, so that if they're a little bit off of center, it'll probably knock them in a different direction. Okay. Not sure how many they create, but so that's the end of the lesson here. So yeah, so in the next lesson, they're going to do the camera stuff. So we will get to that in the next lesson. So, but right now we'll just give this a test, and it should, the vehicle is going down the road and it's hitting all the different boxes, and we can watch it in this window, the scene window, since we don't have the camera set up. So that's working. So next is the high-speed chase lesson. So in this one, we're going to add a speed variable for your vehicle. So we need to find an easier way to change the speed and allow it to be accessed from the inspector. So they're just going to add a speed variable. So we can do that in Game Creator 2 as well by creating a global. We'll just do global variables. We'll just create a variables folder and create Game Creator variables, name variables. So in the global variables, we can just change this to speed, and it's a number and 20. So there, and then they are going to use that in their times 20 right there. So that's back where we had in the last one, where we had this value 2. We would just change that to variables, global name variables, and bring in the global speed variable. So now we can change it through here. Now it's doing 20. Okay. Okay, next, now they're going to do the camera. So they want a chase camera for this. So instead of doing this, we are going to create a camera shot. So just do create Game Creator, cameras, camera shot. This will be the main camera. And it's going to be a follow target. And the look target is not going to be a player. We don't have a player object. It's going to be a game object. And set the vehicle. And the same thing for follow. And they're going to set the offset here as well. So they're setting an offset of 0.5 minus 7. So that's built into Game Creator. So we'll just do that. 0.5 and minus 7. And let's just test that out. And there's our offset. Okay, so next they're going to make that into a variable. So let's do that in our global variables. We'll add a new variable for offset. And we can set that to Okay, vector 3, 5 minus 7. And then over here, in the player controller, in the camera shot, we want, instead of hard coding it here, we can bring in the global variable, offset variable, and we'll see that it works. Should work. And it works the same. Smooth the camera with late update. Are we noticing that the camera is jittery? We don't need to worry about this because the shot camera enables that, and we're in the game time mode. I think it automatically does that, so we don't need to fix that because it isn't jittery. We're not seeing the jitter that you would have if you were using code, right? Because the code would be in the update method. But we don't have to worry about that with Game Creator 2 because it automatically handles the cameras in using the camera shot, so we don't need to do that. And the tint color, you can change your play mode tint color in the preferences, in the settings, and that's here, colors, play mode tint, just in case you wanted to do that. And that's it for high-speed chase. We're done. So next we're going to do the step into the driver's seat. So now we want to get the vehicle to move left and right. So what they're going to do is, in the update, they add a translate for the right, left and right. So add a public float turn speed. So we'll add that into the variables in our player controller in the local name variables. So turn speed. And that is a number. And they're setting it to, they don't set it to anything right away. And then they add the transform translate vector 3 dot right times time to delta time times turn speed. So let's do that. So we are going to do the similar to this. So we're going to copy this and paste it. And we're going to, instead of speed, we're going to transform, translate, turn speed. I'm going to add another variable called mult, turn speed mult, and then that's what we can store, because we need to take time.delta time times turn speed. So we want to set the turn speed to delta time times the turn speed, which is actually, well, maybe we're going to put it in the global name variables then, the turn speed. So global variables, you can duplicate one by doing that, and then just change this to turn speed. I don't know if 20, whatever, but so that's fine. And then we want to do times turn speed. We want this to be setting, okay, turn speed mult is a number. So we want to change that to this. So set that equals delta time times the turn speed in the global variable. And then we want to move, so let's do this, and we'll do this. Now what we're doing here is vector3 dot right, which is 0, 1, no, 0. It's vector3 dot right, which is so the right is 0, 1, 1, 0, 0. Left is -1. So right is 1, 0, 0. So what we want is the vector components, though. So it's 1, 0, 0. So what we want to do is multiply the x by this turn speed mult. So we can just actually set it to the turn speed mult. So that's that. So that will do the same thing as if you were to multiply it by that. It makes it easier anyway to do that. So that should, of course, now we're using 20 as turn speed. So that's going to make it go off to the side. Like that. And use the variable slider to move it left and right. So, well, you can't do that in Game Creator 2, but if we set this to 0, you can't do it in like you could if it was. You can't change this in real time. So, but if we change, so now if we change this to -5, it'll go to the left, and +5, it'll go to the right. The only thing you cannot do is do this update in play mode, but it doesn't matter because we're going to base it on input. So instead of the inspector, so now they're going to do the horizontal inputs. So, but they're using the old input system, and Game Creator 2 uses the new input system. So we need to use the new input system to do this. Okay. Times the horizontal input. So we're just taking what we're doing right now and it's timesing it by the horizontal input. So we want to get that. So first of all, we need a horizontal input. Input system actions comes with the thing. So, okay, so we're going to create a new action called steer. And this one is going to be an axis, value of an axis. Add a positive negative binding. So for keyboard, you can do add the positive negative binding. So then we can do keyboard or listen and do the left arrow and the right arrow. I'm just going to remove the gamepad for now. So we have the steering, which is the 1D axis. So left and right. So let's save the asset. And then what we need to do is we need to create an input manager object just so that it can activate that. So we'll just call it input manager. And we will add a trigger on start and then activate the input, enable the input. Let's see. Enable the input action, which will be this one right here. And then we're going to enable the player steer. So only that asset will be activated. Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay, so we changed the X to the value of this input X, steer of the input asset. Okay. And so we've got that. We still want to multiply it by delta time and turn speed though. So how would we do that? Player steer. I'm not sure how you would do that. Well, if you just do that, let's see what happens. Yeah, so it's way out. It's way fast because it's not being multiplied by time.delta time. If I can set a number, and we will set that horizontal input. I don't know if that'll work, honestly. But we'll see. Equal to, there we go. Input system asset, player steer. So we're going to store it in there. And then, okay, so we move this up. Set the horizontal input in there. And then we take the delta time times the turn speed. We want to multiply those two together. So let's do that. Multiply numbers. The turn speed mult times the horizontal. And then we're going to set that to be a steer value, I guess, and then value number. Okay, so this, we're going to set that. Steer value equals to the turn speed mult times the horizontal input. Times the horizontal input. We'll move this down and below. So we've got the steer value. So we've got that times that. We've got the input, and we've got this So then we just set this to the steer value then. Instead of that, we want it to set to the variable. Steer value. And let's see if that works. Yes, it does. So it is steering much better. There's a little bit of a you'll notice there's a little bit of a where it returns back a little bit. It sort of towards center or towards the other direction. I believe that's caused by the dead zone in the input action. So if you go in here, there would be a axis dead zone. There's like defaults for that. So you'd maybe want to change that a little bit. I'm not going to go over that in this video though. But if you change the minimum and the maximum dead zone, I think this would, and that's in your input settings. So you have to create a settings asset and then you can change it right here. And then it will change the the dead zone. So let's see if I change this to 0.125, say, and then we put this in as a processor, and it's going to, it should automatically update that. Let's just delete that and add it back in. So 0.125, okay. Save. And see if that makes any difference. And it doesn't really. Maybe if I change the dead zone to 0, I could try that. And save that. No, it still does that. So I'm not sure why that is. If anyone knows why that is, let me know in the comments down below. But that is it for this part. And we have completed the speed that, take control of the speed. Oh, the forward input. Okay. Okay, so in the next part, we're gonna cover the forward input for forward and backwards. Okay, so take control of the vehicle speed. We're back and we are continuing on with this one. There's a forward input variable. So same thing, what we did with the horizontal input. Let's create a forward input variable. That would be a number, and then they're using the vertical axis. We need to go in and create an axis here. So now I'm going to create an action for accelerate, I guess, and this will be an axis, a single axis, and we are going to set the binding, a positive negative binding. Delete that. And negative, we want up and negative to be down. So listen for the down arrow. and the positive will be the up arrow. So that will be for forward and backwards. So up and down. And then we'll save that and go to back out. And now we want to take a look at their code. So they're doing the forward input. They're multiplying it by the forward input. So because this is where we're doing that here. This is the forward input really. So what we need to do is change this to use that actual input value instead. So similar to how we did the left and right, we are going to, we already have this speed, delta time times the speed. So that's fine still. And then we just need to add another one here. Okay, first of all, we need to add another enable input system action. Or you can actually enable the whole map, right? So enable input map, and then we can just enable the player map altogether. But that will enable all the controls. So maybe I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to, I'll duplicate this and we'll do the player accelerate. Okay. So now we need something similar to this one where it's horizontal input. So I'll just duplicate that and move it up. And then we will change this to be the forward input. And we'll change this to be the accelerate input asset. So we've got that forward input, we got the speed, and then we need a value, acceleration value. Accel value. Okay. Change that to a number. And then we need to set that similar to this one. So let's copy that and put it up here. So now we want the Excel value to be, okay, let's just grab that and this. So we want the vertical input or the forward input, and we want the speed. So now we're multiplying the speed by forward input. And then here's where we want this to be. Instead of speed, it will be the Excel value. So that should do it. Yeah, that's the Z. So we're moving it in the Z. So that should allow us to control the forward and back. Let's see if that works. So we're not moving, and then up and down, and left and right. Actually, it works pretty good. So now we can control this car by using the 4 arrow keys. And you can back up, and it's working. So that's that step. And then the last part is to make the vehicle rotate instead of slide. So instead of going left to right, they want it to rotate. So they've replaced the translate with a rotate. So turn speed times horizontal input times time.delta time. They're using the rotate. So let's see if we can do that as well for the left and right. So that would be replacing this. So instead of move, let's see if there's a rotate. Change rotation. So we're going to do the car. And the rotation is around the vector3.up axis. So let's see. Euler vector3. And that would be the up axis, 0, 1, 0, I think. That would be. I wonder if you can do constants. No. Euler vector3, 0, 1, 0, I think. But that's the global rotation. Now we want to multiply that by the other two. Okay. So we don't really want to do that. So we're going to need an Euler rotation value. I think number, maybe if it's a vector3. I'm not sure. Yep. So it has to be a vector3. Okay, so rotate. But we still have the problem where we need this, we need it to be a value. So what we're going to do is, do you get that value? Delta time times turn speed times horizontal, no, just, yeah, those three. Turn speed, horizontal input, time.delta time. So do we have that already? We have the turn speed times the horizontal input steer value. And that was from delta time. So this, the steer value is what we need. And then we just need to rotate it using the same value. So, is it steer value? Okay. Euler. Okay, well, we'll see if that works. So we need to delete the move that we had before and replace it with this rotate. We're going to try rotating around the y-axis here with the same steer value. So let's see what that does. Yeah, it's very slow. It is rotating though. But it rotates in place. It doesn't rotate and then move, like we're not moving in that direction. We're moving back, forward and backwards. That's only because we're looking at only the forward input. We're only looking at up and down, and there's no like it's the left and right component to that. Now the steer value is very low, so we can add the turn speed. We can global variables. We can up the turn speed to 20, and then it will rotate a lot faster. But as you see, it only goes in one, like it's not, we're not going in that direction. So, but that's the reason, because we're not adding a component to that. We're only going Z up and down. We're not adding an X component at all to that. So you would add the X component here. We could add that here. Let's see if that works. And do the steer value. So that works. However, the rotation is a lot less right now, so it's a little choppy. Let's see. Steer value. So actually, if we move this down here, after we've gotten all the inputs, let's see if that works better. And then we use, that's the rotate, there's the move. Set this back to the variable. Steer value, okay. And so let's see if how that works. Let's reset that. The physics are just letting it go to, okay. And the steer value, you can see the steer value right there. The rotation is a little less though. So this steer value, maybe we could multiply that by something. A turn, well, it is right there, the steer value. Turn speed multiplier, delta time times turn. So if we add, make turn speed higher. You can see it is rotating, but it's because of the left and right, it's sort of overriding it. But so we can set this back to 0. Now, maybe if we do 2 moves, let's try that. That's too much. That's sort of working. It's a little, it's not rotating as much as you would want it to. Because, unless maybe if you do the rotation first, and then you do the move. Try that. That sort of works better. So sometimes you need to like play around with these and see it is rotating a little bit towards that direction. So I think we can call this successful for this tutorial. And this is the end of the player control lesson in Create with Code GC2 edition. So we've seen how we can sort of replicate that code in Game Creator 2 using Game Creator 2. So hope you enjoyed this lesson. We will take a look next at the basic gameplay project in the next one, and this one goes over how to create an endless runner game using Game Creator 2. We're going to use instead of the code. So like, subscribe, comment down below, and we'll see you in the next one with Project 2, the basic gameplay project.